I lost my husband March 8th, 2020, 5 years ago, to gun violence.
And on August 26, 2022, my daughter, Naya Riddles, was brutally shot and murdered.
Amira, she was messing around with this dude who would be out there in the streets doing all types of stuff.
November 11th, 2023, I was sitting outside at the Y Bar with another friend. We were out. It was late. It was like 2. We were out. We were having a good time, and suddenly we heard gunshots.
America armed and dangerous.
There are now some 40 million handguns
Firearm
in this country.
injuries represent an epidemic in
epidemic
the United
of gun violence.
Join us in this campaign to reduce gun violence.
The only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun,
another mass shooting
is
in America.
a good guy with
Shooting
a gun.
rampage.
316 people are shot every single day.
Gun violence, a topic that's deeply divisive in America, a country where guns are embedded in everyday life. As of 2018, it was estimated that there are approximately 400 million civilian-owned guns in America. That means there are more guns than there are people or cars in the US. By comparison, Americans own more guns per capita than any other country, accounting for about 40% of the world's total gun ownership. And that number is likely to increase. Since 2008, the US firearm industry's worth grew 232%, making it a $63.5 billion industry in 2020. But the reason for division over gun ownership isn't just because the US owns the most guns. It's because it also has the highest rate of mass shootings, gun-related homicides, and firearm suicides among similarly developed nations.
It was our daughter's basketball championship game, and there was a fight outside in Canterbury, and he tried to, de-escalate the situation. And he had called me out at the grocery store, to come back home because some kids was being real violent. And he was just so confused. So I didn't take him seriously at first, honestly. I didn't think it was that serious. It was some kids. I'm like, you grown. So I did get back, and when I arrived, the girls had got real violent. One of the girls had attacked my daughter. We had broken up. We thought the situation had died and over with, and they went home. We stayed in the house. Then we got a call saying that it was a dad of one of the little girls who was fighting, and he wanted to meet with us and talk. He sounded like a great guy. He was very knowledgeable. He was polite, and so we went downstairs to talk to him. And when we got down there, it was a totally different person. He was very irate. He was very angry. His daughter had lied and said that my husband had took her by her hair and swung her across the parking lot. So the dad was very upset, for no reason, but he was upset as a father. So I tried to de-escalate the situation and talk about it. My husband wasn't even downstairs yet. He stayed upstairs. Then he was called down to come talk to the dad because he was so angry. When he got down, the man wanted to argue, and my husband said that he didn't want to argue. He said, I never touched your daughter. I never ever touched my daughter, sir. He was like, but let's talk about it because it's my daughter basketball dinner, so let's do this tomorrow. We then walked away, and as we walked away, his son had encouraged him to shoot my husband. He had told his dad, blow that nigga. And we was like so appalled. We just looked at each other. He told us to run. We didn't think it was that serious. But then the little boy had yelled again and said, Dad, we heard shots fired. We all took off running. The man chased my husband down. He shot him several times. And once my husband slid down the car and fell on the ground, he stood over him and shot him in the head. For no reason. So, he was pronounced dead at 9:22 p.m. that night on March 8th. And I have got involved in the gun violence, the summit, because it's so much violence and gun violence out here for no reason. And if I can help save someone's life and be encouragement to somebody to stop the gun violence, and that's what I want to do. I encourage everybody to put the guns down and talk about it before anything, because everybody's life can be taken from you. A loved one can go to prison, a loved one can be buried.
When we got to Interfaith, this is where the accident happened. My friend that was along with us, Amira, she was messing around with this dude who would be out there in the streets doing all types of stuff. And they was getting into it or whatever. They always be getting into it. They real on and off like that. They're just really toxic. So this particular day, I guess they was heated because Amira had did something with some other dude, and her boyfriend was real peed off about it. And he was like, "Don't let me see you, don't let me see you," all this, all that. So yeah, it was just crazy. But you know, that ain't stopped us. We were still outside, just walking around, knowing that it was stuff going on. And she see a black car. She like, "Oh, that's my man car." I'm like, "What you mean?" She like, "That's my man car. We gotta go." So we turn around. We still walking, and she hear him yelling out the car. She said, "Don't turn around, just keep walking." And then he was just all up in her face talking about, "So didn't I tell you, now let me see you, now let me see you." And out of nowhere, all his homeboys started coming out. Like 3 dudes came out the car. He over there looking at us, keep on asking who he was and all this and all that. He knew who I was, but he didn't know who my sister was because he ain't never met her because nobody knows her. And then I guess she said something. She was like, "If I did, did whatever with that dude, what they got to do with you?" And then I guess that made him mad, and he put out his gun. He pointed to her, and he was like, "I'll kill you and your friends right now," and walk away like nothing ever happened. So me and my sister looking at each other. We just trying to figure out, like, is he serious or like what's going on? Amira sitting up there, she looked cool, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be cool then too. Like my friend cool, that's her man. I'm trusting her. A few moments go by and she just staring at him. She didn't even say nothing. He started shooting the gun in the air, and I guess that triggered her or something. She started apologizing and all type of stuff, and then he was like, "What you over there hanging out with all these people for? I told you to stay in the house over there hanging out with a faggot and some girl. Like, what's wrong with you?" And he just saying all type of stuff. It was real crazy. They start shooting the gun in the air again, talking about some run. They just yelling run while they shooting the gun in the air. They start chasing us and we just running through Interfaith, running in circles basically. We ran out there to the main street on Interfaith Homes, right there where the bus stop and the logo of Interfaith Homes is at. And that's where he shot my sister in the back of her calf and in her foot. Luckily, that's the only place that she got shot, and she did survive, but my friend Amira did not. And my friend Amira died the night we went home. So I found out 2 days later, and every time I'm just like, what could I have done? Could I have said something? Could I have did something to help my friend from her significant other, because he decided to do something like this to her. And it's crazy to think that you have to look behind your back everywhere you go because you don't know. You just don't know. And I hate that that's something that we have to worry about, but it is something we have to worry about. And it don't matter where we are, because we obviously see that we're not safe at school either. So it's like, what can we do? But now we got stuff like the summit, and we got CAP and all type of other things that deal with gun violence and that help us. And now we're able to speak up about these things without probably being criticized or talked about or looked down upon because nobody else is talking about them. But now we're speaking up about it. And I'm glad we're doing that because of people that we've lost, like Patrice's husband and my friend and all the other people that we've lost to gun violence.
I was sitting outside at the Y bar with another friend. We were out. It was late. It was like 2. We were out. We were having a good time. And suddenly we heard gunshots. So I ducked in the car, and my friend suddenly he was running to the car. He came. Everybody's just cars are screeching off. The cars that were still outside are screeching off. As we left, as we were pulling off, we noticed a young man. He was holding his side, and he just wasn't moving as fast as everyone else. And so my friend pulled up on the side of him. He says, "Hey, like, are you good?" And so to our shock, he wasn't good. He was holding his wound. He was bleeding from what we thought was his stomach. And so we quickly put him in the car, and we drove him as fast as we could to Bronson Hospital. While my friend drove, I tried to hold his wounds, and he unfortunately passed away at the hospital. His friend had to follow us to the hospital, and we just had to figure out a way to make contact with his parents, all while trying to figure out who we were even helping. Gun violence is extremely important, especially now, because it's like a plague. I would describe it as. It's really affecting everyone. There's no two people that I can talk to and ask in 2025 in the city of Kalamazoo, have they lost a loved one or peer to gun violence, and the answer is no. It's extremely important because the more that it occurs, the more desensitized we are becoming to it. And the more that it's becoming like a way of our life and being for our community, but it's not. It's important because if we don't address it, we will just continue down this path of losing our loved one, losing our peers, losing our family members, and creating this divide in our community while we're all suffering from the same pain.
My daughter, Naya Reynolds, was brutally shot and murdered. She was shot 9 times. This particular day, it was a nice day. I was at work, and I called one of the kids, and I learned that all 5 of them were together, which was unusual because we all work different shifts. So I decided to take a lunch break, go over to my daughter's house, and we were all outside laughing, joking, having a good time. It was a normal day. I looked at my watch. I said it was time for me to get back to work, and I remember thinking to myself, maybe I should take a picture, but I was running short on time and got back to work. And I remember as I walked through the door, the Holy Spirit told me to go inside the bathroom and pray for my kids. I did. I finished out my shift. I got off at 11:30. And as I'm driving down Oakland, I get to the 94 overpass. I see all kind of police cars, dogs searching the wooded areas, ambulances, fire trucks. And I remember thinking something terrible has happened. I went home, talked to my husband, went to sleep. About 5:30, I got a call from my son Christopher, and he said, "Mom, get up. My dad's car was shot up and Naya was in it." And my husband and I, we got up. We were on our way to the hospital. And as we were on our way, I called my daughter and I asked her what happened, and she told me that Naya was gone, that she was dead. And I remember getting to the hospital and just seeing kids everywhere. And it was later on, while I was at the hospital, that I learned that the scene that I passed was where my daughter was killed. This summit is important to me because I don't want another mother, another father, another sibling to get a phone call at 5:30 in the morning, and someone's on the other line, on the end of the line, telling them that their loved one was killed. This is something that not only affects families, it affects communities. And one thing that I also think about the family of the shooter, because I remember one day seeing his mother in court, and I saw the pain in her face, the hurt in her face. So not only is my family affected, but she's a mom, and her family will forever be affected as well. So it's important to me to do something, not just talk about it, and that's what this summit is. It's us putting action behind our words and not just having a bunch of meetings, but actually doing something about this gun violence that is plaguing our community.